welcome to my kitchen. My name is Charlsie, and today we're going to make an Italian love cake. And we're kind of doing this in celebration. Our poodle, our standard poodle, just turned 14. And no, he will not be eating the cake, but hey, any reason to make a good dessert. So the first thing you want to do, preheat your oven to 350, and then prepare your 8-inch cake pans. Got pie on my mind for some reason. And to prepare your pans, you just want to grease them and flour them, shake off all the extra flour. Okay, this is a multi-step cake. So we're going to take one step at a time. And so it'll be simple. It's a lot of ingredients. You can kind of see our spread here, but easy to do. In your mixing bowl, and you don't have to use a stand mixer, you can use a handheld, but in your mixing bowl you want 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. I'm going to leave it right here. It'll be easier for me to put the ingredients in. 1 3/4 cup of granulated sugar. And before you say anything, no, this is not low carb. This is a full-blown dessert, okay? So 1 3/4 cup sugar. Leave that here. We're making this from scratch. You can use a chocolate cake mix if you want, but for me, I just like the flavor of using everything from the basics and no preservatives. So that's why we're making it from scratch. We're going to do 3/4 a cup of cocoa, and that's how we're going to get the chocolate. And that's why you have so much sugar in this thing. I think we're going to have just enough cocoa to make this happen. Okay, so there's half. And I'll use the rest of this, looks like. So we got to put that on the shopping list. All right, there we go. Just going to stir this around a little bit before we add the wet ingredients. I do have to do the baking powder and baking soda and salt as well. So let's get that going. We are going to use I have to check the recipe, 1 teaspoon of baking powder. There you go. Make sure 2 teaspoons of baking soda. I ordered these measuring spoons from Amazon, and I just love them because they have a dry side and a wet side. So you use the more tapered end to go down into the spice if you're using a spice. 1 teaspoon of salt, and again, I use Redmond, so it's a little bit stronger, so I'm not going to do a complete teaspoon because it'll probably be too strong. So there's all the dry ingredients. Let me tilt it so you can see. Very chocolatey looking, which is great. And now let's add 2 eggs, and these are at room temperature. Half a cup of oil. I'm using coconut oil. You could use avocado, you could use even olive oil, and it wouldn't affect the flavor. Coconut, though, is just so great for a dessert. Then I've got 1 cup of buttermilk, and this is at room temperature. And finally, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Okay, so I'm going to blend this for about 2 minutes on medium until it's totally mixed up. All right, now this is all mixed up, I think you can see in here, and we're going to slowly add 1 cup of good French press hot coffee. So this is very fresh. And this will thin out the batter. Which is what you want. And if you don't want to use coffee, you can use hot water. It just needs to be hot. But the coffee is just going to give it an added, almost like tiramisu flavor. And you know Italians, they love their coffee. You could also do an espresso if you have a little espresso maker. I would just thin it out with coffee, so half a cup of, with water I mean, half a cup of espresso, half a cup of water, or it'll be so strong. So now our batter is mixed up. It's very thin. It was extremely, you can see on the spatula, it was extremely thick when we started, and now it's very cake mix like, very thin. So I'm going to pour the batter into, the pans. Let me move this, or it's going to drip all over everything. All right, here we go. And I'm just going to check and make sure it's all mixed up. Looks good. So we will pour it in. Got a good view? And I'm just gonna go back and forth until they're even. Smells so chocolatey coffee. This is going to be great. And I'll put the last of it in here. Always scrape because, man, there's a lot of batter still in there. All right, so we're going to reset and do layer number 2. I'm just going to set these aside for a moment, and then we'll mix up layer number 2, and we'll put it right on top of here. All right, layer 2. Here's your cheese. It's ricotta cheese. So that is 15 ounces. I'm going to go ahead and put that on the mixing stand. To that, we're going to add half a cup of sugar, 2 large eggs, and I'll let them come to room temperature, and vanilla. And I'm going to use this vanilla bean paste. Can you see that? Okay, so we will go with half a teaspoon. Just going to give it a little bit of a different flavor. And now we'll mix that up. And this is going to be really creamy. That's looking great. So I'm going to use a soup ladle just to take this mixture, and I'm just going to gently gosh, it's like an art project. But you don't want to mix it. It's going to kind of start sinking and create a marbled look in the cake. So you really can't mess this up at all. Here we go again. I'm going to try to fill in a little bit. There's the oven. It's ready for the cake. And using a ladle like this will help you to distribute this layer pretty evenly. All right. Just kind of go around the edge. And here's the last of it. So we ended up with almost 3 ladles full for each layer of cake. Now this goes in your oven at 350, and it'll probably take about 60 minutes. The Italian love cake is ready to go into the oven. Remember, 350 degrees, and it'll probably take about an hour to cook. But here's what I want you to do. Set your timer for 45 minutes and then do the old toothpick test. Go down in the middle of the cake and see if it's cooked or not. Odds are it's going to take mine an hour, but I am going to check it at 45 minutes. So there you go. We are ready to bake. Y'all, I'm so excited to make the frosting for this cake, but let me show you. This is a layer. And what I did was I let them cool completely in the pan on my wire rack, and then carefully took them out of the pans. And let's talk about pans for just a second. The recipe called for 8-inch. No, definitely go for a 9-inch. We had some spillover, and thank goodness I had put the pans on a baking tray. Otherwise, it would have been a mess in the bottom of my oven. So go to 9-inch because this will fill it up. And then after they chilled, I removed them from the pan carefully. It's a very, very moist cake, so you've got to be a little bit careful. And then I put them in the fridge for them to chill. Now we're going to make the frosting and frost the cake. So if you move down to the mixer, I've already put, and this is the only thing that was pre-made. I used chocolate vanilla pudding, and it is the instant, and it's the 3.9 ounce size. To that, I'm going to add 1.5 cups of cold milk. So let's put that in here. And you could self-mix this with a whisk, or we're just going to use this KitchenAid because we have it out. So I'm just going to let that mix up until it starts to thicken. up a little bit. Now we're going to take 8 ounces of whipped cream and stir this into the thickened chocolate pudding mixture. So you don't really stir it. The right term is fold. So we're going to do that. Just fold over. So it's going to kind of give you that marble look. But I want to mix it good enough that you get that chocolate flavor. So, just about there. All right, and just make sure your milk is really cold. Your whipped cream needs to be cold, but thawed out if it was frozen. All right, that's looking really good. Keep finding big big streams of chocolate. Okay, so we're adding a layer of filling, a layer of the icing. And as you can see, it's very fluffy, but it's starting to set up. That is perfect. It's looking great. Okay. So now we're just spreading the filling out evenly before adding the second layer of the cake. So we carefully placed the top layer, and now the expert froster in our family is going to add the frosting. Once he's done, we'll go ahead and refrigerate the cake at least 3 to 4 hours, preferably overnight. I don't think that we'll make it. I think we're going to taste this tonight for sure. And now he's putting the finishing touches on icing this cake. It's kind of a rough cake, so it's not going to be perfect. However, for me, it's all about the taste. So ladies, let me ask you, and gentlemen, if you had somebody that can frost like this, would you ever frost? No, of course not. So this is the finished cake, this Italian love cake, and it's going to go in the fridge. And like I was telling you, it did flow over in the 8-inch pan, so used 9. And so I'm going to take some crumbs and just kind of sprinkle them on the top, just a little added decoration. And I guess you could add nuts or cherries or chocolate shavings. I really don't think this cake needs anything else. Okay, so that is the finished cake. It's going to go right into the fridge for at least 4 hours. Overnight would be even better. It'll set up even better. But because I pre-chilled the layers, I feel like we can get away with about 4 hours, and then we're going to give it a taste test. So thank you for watching. If you like this kind of recipe, give me a thumbs up. Please remember to subscribe because it helps the channel. Share this kind of recipe with other people. Again, this is not low carb, folks. This is a decadent dessert that we made in celebration of our poodle turning 14. So I will see you again very soon. Thanks for cooking with me.